There we go. What a call from the team last night. Broncos 30 to beat the Storm 14. Noddy, the Broncos have now secured a top 4 finish. The Warriors would have been watching that game really closely last night in the hotel room. They've now secured the top 4 position. They will be going to Canberra week 1. And Reece Walsh is arguably playing. I reckon this last 4 weeks is probably the most consistent 4 weeks I've seen in his career so far.
Yeah, that's right, Scope. We had top 4 finalised last night. We get Team 5, Team 6 and Team 8 we're still waiting for as this weekend unfolds. So that's exciting news for the Brisbane Broncos. I'll go the Broncos first before I go to Reece Walsh. So the Brisbane Broncos have justified the decision they made the end of last year, which was a pretty harsh and a pretty big decision to move all the coaching staff members on, go in a different direction, seek someone that's hard and tough and had won a State of Origin series called Michael Maguire, who is a premiership winner in the Northern and Southern Hemisphere, and knows how to get the best out of the players, how to have... And I won't say the discipline's been fixed off the field yet, because that was some of the issues they had in the past, the Broncos, and it's still some issues that are occurring at
But
Brisbane.
that decision's been vindicated as well with Shibasaki.
That's right, yeah, but happy enough to make tough decisions as well as the coach. So I think the justification to start with the Broncos, they were poor at the start of the year. They were under a little bit of pressure. They weren't going to be making the semi-finals halfway through this competition. They've won...
Remember when they played out here, mate, and they got, I think it was 30-6 or something against Manly?
I think they've won 7 of the last 10.
Yep.
And obviously that was a huge scalp last night in a Melbourne Storm side that come off a thrashing last week and a milestone for Bellyache. And I know that the Melbourne Storm did hours and hours of review and process and weren't happy, and the standards weren't up to what they went out and did. And then they looked like a team not in the race against the Broncos. They defended strong. They were so fit. They worked hard together. They were connected. And then obviously, then you add individual flares. So they got players injured in key positions.
Yep.
They're back due in 1 week, 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks. You drop your starring centre because of a discipline issue a few days, the week leading into one of your biggest games. You're trying to make the top 4. You need your stars. But no, we're going to rest you for the culture and what's bigger picture. And obviously Mariner come in and did a wonderful job. And then we go to Reece Walsh. And in a joking around way, I've had people speak to me today, bits and pieces of young kids, do we have social media anymore, to what do we think's right and wrong. And when it's hard to understand what he is. I made a claim today of he's the Shane Warne of rugby league.
Okay,
everyone wants him.
Yeah,
everyone wants a piece of him. Whether it's a good piece or a bad piece,
the eyeballs are on him.
And he's a star. And what he did the last 4 weeks and what he did last night is on big occasion, he nails the moments, he stars, he owns the football field, which reminds me a lot of the greatest leg spinner we've had, and gets it done, but has off-field discipline issues, can be a pain in the bum for Cricket Australia. Yeah. He could be a pain in the bum for Michael Maguire and the Brisbane Broncos. Still delivers.
Yep.
Drinking water out of the toilet. Everyone should drink water out of the toilet. No, don't.
Even the celebration.
Even the celebration. It's like he rubs with it.
Yeah.
He's got his own TV show, his own social media. His rating would be through the roof. Every player watches him and goes, wow, he can do things I can't do. And last night produced some of those things. All the young girls in the crowd love Reece Walsh.
Yep.
Think he's an idol. He's a father.
All the young boys want to be him.
And then obviously, it's just a talking point. It's the excitement. And last night he got the Broncos home. The tackle he made on Xavier Coates was unbelievable.
There you go.
Yes, he scored tries. Yes, he kicked 40, 20s. Oh, my God, that was a big play and a big tackle. And kept driving him to get off the sideline. So I think when you think about... And I referenced it. I said, I bet you Reece Walsh, there's money you can earn as a football player, and then there's the respect you have for that, or understanding, not so much respect, awareness of where you are. I'm sure he probably gets product for free, cars for free. People want to know what he's doing. But this comes with the bells and the whistles and the showpiece of what we call Reece Walsh. So
if you deliver like that, like Warnie?
Yeah, you can get away with it. But when he starts playing bad, which it has done this year, when it affects his performance, that's when he needs to be kicked up the bum, and that's when he needs to take accountability himself and probably pull it back a little bit.
Yep.
But you know what? If you do a performance like that on the back of the week you've had, you know what? The Brisbane Broncos, I think now, are a chance to win the competition.
Yeah.
And last week, I didn't have him as a chance to win the competition.
Well, there you go. That's huge. So Reece Walsh had 22 points. He had a 40-22 tries and 1 try assist. But I'm with you, Noddy. That tackle on Xavier Coates was an origin play. It was a finals play, and it shows the growth in his game. The finals have started for Madge, Noddy. You were talking about the headache with selections moving forward if players were to come back. Here's what Madge had to say about that last night.
I'll assess it as it goes, Pete. I mean, at the end of the day, I'll enjoy this time with the players, and we'll assess what's right for the team. I've got a good group of leaders that we talk about these things openly and what's right for this moment in time. Some players haven't played for a bit too, so you've got to balance that out, and you've got players that have been playing in good form. So that's a judgment call that we'll make, but that'll be over the next few days.
Yeah, well, there you go. So injuries returning for the Broncos, injuries happening for the Melbourne Storm. The Storm's premiership hopes took a major blow when both Jerome Hughes was sidelined by a fractured forearm, and the news after the game is Ryan Pappenhausen is ruled out after failing his HIA after the game. And Big Nelson Asafa-Solomona, he is looking at a suspension. Here is Bellamy talking about Hughes.
Pretty much think it's a break without doubt. He's in plaster already, so that wasn't a great idea to put him back in this week, but anyway.
Well, there you go, Noddy. A very dejected Craig Bellamy. Where do you see, they've got a huge game coming up. They've still got home ground advantage. They play the Bulldogs next week. The Bulldogs still have to play against the Sharks now, so we'll monitor that game very closely over the weekend. But where do you see the Storm now after the injury and suspension?
Yeah, that's right. We'll go to the Melbourne Storm before we worry about the other game. But obviously, Jerome Hughes, I was excited to see him come back after 5 weeks with the shoulder, but then he suspected broken wrist or an injury of some criteria of that severeness. He won't be available again for the rest of the year. Ryan Pappenhausen fails that HIA, so he's 11-day stand down.
Okay.
So basically, he'll miss the semi-final next week and be eligible for whatever game after that. Only if he progresses through HIA protocol.
It's not a lock, is it?
Not a lock. So he could have delayed concussion. He could not be on Wednesday, which means it pushes him back further before he's allowed to return to training for HIA protocol and concussion. Really important. And Nelson Asafa-Solomona has been charged, obviously, 4 weeks if he fights it and loses it, and 3 weeks on an early guilty plea. So I feel a bit sorry for Nelson. In watching that tackle last night, he's the biggest guy in our game.
Yep.
So if you're the biggest guy in the game, and if you don't bend your back a lot in every tackle, your shoulder's going to hit a lot of people in the head. So I don't think the one last night was that bad of a tackle.
With you, Noddy. It's tough for him.
But it's the loading it carries now on similar offences and non-similar offences that jacks your charge up significantly. So he's a repeat offender. He's had the same case. He should be loading of 200, 300 points or charge levels on the similar offence because it's occurred in the last 12 months. So
is he too big for the modern game, Noddy?
Well,
is the game going past Nelson, just his size and the mobility?
His ability to stay in the game at that big is unbelievable. So the work he does must be unbelievable. But just these head knocks that are happening, his shoulder going into someone's... Unless he bends his back significantly, unless he rolls and says, instead of tackling chest high on everyone now, I've got to go around the top of the hips, which nullifies every tackle he does because then people can get offloads. So
he didn't do much wrong, did he?
He
just dipped and the target was lower.
But his head's there. I could go my shoulder go in, it would hit you in the top of the quad scope. I wouldn't get any charge ever in the history. But it's because of the size of the guy. Yeah. And there's not many in the game that have that issue with being so big and so physical. But unfortunately, Nelson's wearing the brunt of that, and he's now got a bad record. So you're right. I'm going to say, I think Melbourne Storm lost the grand final last year on Nelson not being available. I think they win the grand final if Nelson plays. Now he's going to miss all their semi-finals this year and potentially only be available for grand final day if they were to lose next week and play 3 games.
True.
Then does bellyache bring him back in the side knowing he's not played 3 games but yet...
And the risk of something like this happening in the grand final.
And he gets sent off again or something happens. So I don't think we'll see Nelson again this year. And I don't know... And again, Bellyache made some pretty tough calls and didn't race him back and didn't pick him. So there's a little bit of, I feel like, behind the scenes things happening down there with Nelson and what he's been charged with and where he is physically and his attitude because obviously there's been linking of some players going down there and it hasn't proceeded. But this one being charged again at this time of year, knowing he's lost his halfback for the rest of the semi-final campaign. Harry Grant's back next week.
Yep,
he returns from suspension. So basically it's Wishart or Jonah Pezzett. And everyone else is full stop.
Okay, that was going to be my next question. Where do you go?
I think you've got to give the keys to Jonah Pezzett.
Yeah, well.
I think you have to.
I agree, but I thought you might have gone Wishart for some reason.
I think you got to. I've heard people say to me and coaches say sometimes in the past, if you're good enough and you're ready. If you're old enough, if you're good enough, you're ready. Don't worry about your age and what your experience is. Jonah Pezzett's a gun kid and he offers more than what
Wishart
does. He's
Can
got a
still
better
keep him in
kicking
the 14
game.
for cover as
Yeah,
well.
definitely. I think that's where he becomes that versatile player. Can have leg speed around that back of the lock roll if there's an injury to Luero, for example, because they're going to lose a big fella in Nelson. So they're going to have to play it a little bit different as well. So I would have him inside. Who plays fullback for Melbourne? Ooh.
Nick Meaney.
Nick Meaney.
Marion Seve comes back into the
There we go.
centres.
We've got a pick. Don't worry, Craig. We'll look after you.
The goggles are back. Hopefully it's not wet weather.
I was watching my Pies last night as well, and there's a Collingwood player who wears the goggles as well. So.
Yeah, the name's escaping me. I should know. The big man in the big ruck.
Giant!
Mason Cox.
Yeah, giant of a man.
The big man.
Go 50-yard penalty away, Mason. Just hand the ball over.
Okay, so we've got some huge news. We talked about this at the start of the show. Noddy, you've been able to get us more details around Brailey, who's extended from the Sharks on a long-term deal. Now, it's been reported that it's till the end of at least 2030. What are your thoughts and what are the information you're getting in and around Blayke Brailey and the Cronulla Sharks?
Great news for the Cronulla Sharks to keep one of their local juniors, come through the system, been there since he's 14 years of age, and currently in the streak of 126 straight matches for the Cronulla Sharks. He's made his debut in 2019, 160 NRL games at the moment, 126 straight for him. So certainly you get a lot of service out of him. You don't get a lot of injuries. One of the best passing dummy halves in the competition.
Yep.
It's a 4-year extension, so basically off contract the end of 2026, already signed for next year. 4-year extension, 27, 28, 29, 2030. So I think somewhere there's got to be ratchet clauses in the salary cap, and we say ratchet clauses. The cap ends the end of 2027, so no one knows what the new figure looks like. So what he'll earn for 28, 29, 30 will probably be a percentage of whatever the cap is, and that's how our current managers will do it with whatever moves forward. If you're signing a deal beyond 28, which we expect there to be a new TV deal, the game is hopeful of a better TV deal, which means the salary cap goes up. So this means these type of players will be, their money will rise a little bit. I think he'll be long-term captain at the club. He's currently captain at the club now with Cam McInnes injured, done the ACL. So Cam McInnes will not be...
That's a huge call too, quickly, Noddy, because Nico had been a captain before, so the decision to go to Brailey is a huge call with the McInnes injury a couple of weeks ago.
I think he's the long-term captain. I think, Nico Hines can just worry about being the halfback and the game organiser and manage the game. Too much pressure on Nico, I think, with the captaincy and doing all that responsibility. Brailey doesn't take away from his game. I think this year he's been his best running game as a dummy half as well. I think they were very limited with his running game. So a 4-year extension is a wonderful signing. I think they've been able to lock up everyone else that they've wanted to keep, which there was news of people being pushed out because of the upgrades and where it's all at. So if that is good news for the Sharks, they can keep majority of this squad together for at least 12 more months. And obviously Cam McInnes will come back middle of next year after the ACL, and obviously we'll have to see how he returns. 31 currently now. Cam McInnes will be 32 next year, so probably can still play on. It's depending on how his ACL returns, and obviously depending if the Perth Bears make him a target to go over and start their franchise, because he's been Player of the Year at the Sharks, I believe, and he was Player of the Year at the Dragons on service that he's given both those clubs. So you can't knock him for what he gives, but this is a great signing for the Cronulla Sharks, the fact that Brailey's extended till 2030.
Okay, before we get to McInnes, I just want to quickly finish off with Brailey. Do you know the reported figures? What are we expecting that Blayke Brailey got over this 4-year period?
Yeah, I would think.
Season?
I would think if you're talking about the best dummy halves in the game, Harry Grant, I put it number 1.
Yep.
Robson probably around number 2. Abby Coruscant probably around that still.
Yep.
In some regards, I would think he's a state of origin player. I think he'll be on the bench next year in Origin for all 3 games. I think Royce Robson will start if he's fresh, but I think Brailey becomes a bench player for New South Wales, and if Robson's injured, Brailey starts at dummy for New South Wales. So that's where I think he's at. So I think you're talking figures. Figures would look somewhere local junior. You'd want to keep him. You can hopefully get some third parties, a bit of
franchises.
Yeah, bits and pieces. I would think a player of that calibre in that key position, you're starting to think about 800, 850, 950, and depending on what the current... If the TV deal... We've just seen an AFL player, because their TV deal's significantly higher than ours. I think they're 1 or 2 TV deals ahead of ours. An AFL player has just signed the first ever $2 million contract.
Yeah, wow.
So I think we're not there yet in NRL, but I think the end of the next TV deal, we'll be starting to talk about, there's multiple players probably in the $1 million bracket now, not a lot of them. Go forward to the end of 2027, we get a new TV deal. I think that'll become an increase, and obviously then we'll start talking about $1.5 million players for NRL, which is significantly for what you can earn and what you can give. But I think Brailey would be a good 5-year deal. If he starts at 8 and finishes at 1.1, for example, depending on how much that cap goes up, well done to both parties.
Great signing for Cronulla Sharks. Congratulations to Brailey. McInnes has been a great servant for the Cronulla Sharks. There will be a dominoes effect from this. There will be players that have to move on. You alluded to a new franchise. If you want to set the tone for how you start your franchise, Cam McInnes would be the perfect target for a team like Perth.
Yeah, that's right. For someone that seems to be very good for a football club, plays with his heart and sleeve and blood and teeth and everything else that seems to come out of his head when he plays a game of football. But, yeah, player of the year at multiple clubs, good competitor, seems to be a really nice guy and obviously wears his heart on his sleeve. So that would teach the next crop of players how to do it. But you need good senior players when you're building a new franchise to start with. So I think about the 3 players that we had at the Melbourne Storm. Considering we're all kids and it was a brand new franchise, which is what Perth Bears are, there's no established club that new coaching staff members come in and create a different culture. This is a brand new culture, and we hear Mal Meninga speak about that all the time. Culture, how they're going to build it, the program's going to have, the players they're going to have to recruit. The hardest decision will be getting the first 3 or 4 players. Once they get that and you've got good 3 or 4 players, and others will follow.